While black workers make up 12.9% of the labor force in America, at the senior manager and vice president level, they make up just 5%.
There's been very little progress on diversifying the corporate managerial workforce since the late.
Wait a second. Did you hear that?
Explain it for the viewers, please.
So the woman here said that while black workers consist of 12.5% of the American workforce, they only represent 5% of executive positions, like being a vice president or a president of a company. What does that have to do with each other?
It's a false correlation that people seem to make everywhere. And I can tell all sorts of statistics that are put in society to say, for example, whilst black people are 12% of this, we figure that they're either maybe 10% or 1% of this particular good thing in society, meaning we don't have enough of them according to their particular proportion in society. The question is, where exactly do we see that particular perfect alignment work and exist in society, of saying, because you have 50% of the people in the population, then you have 50% of all the people in the janitorial work, or 50% of all top executives? Where exactly do we see that? What race does have that? Because saying that about black people and not saying that the Mexicans, for example, have maybe, let's say, 4% of them, and maybe they have 0.1% of all the VPs, obviously shows you that it's an actual consistent particular trend in every other race. But we only talk of the black people and we stop because we want to paint a particular picture.
This is insane. Like, I cannot believe that The Economist actually made a video about this. First of all, like, just to clarify what you were saying here, the assumption that they work with is that population demographics, like to say that black Americans represent 12 point something percent of the entire American population. Their assumption is that what that means is that for every occupation, for every job that is out there in every company, the number of people that are in that company should also equal 12.5%.
It should mean all Indians or white people or Chinese people exactly to their percentage. Otherwise, if we don't see that someone somewhere is causing some sort of discriminating.
Now, the reason why I say this is insane, I always bring this example because it's very glaring. If you look in the NBA, right, the basketball league in the United States, about 79% of them are black men that play in that league. And black men are only about 6% of the American population. Black men who can play basketball, that is between the ages of 17 to about 37, right? Who can play, they are less than 3% of the American population, but they represent about 79% of basketballers. So who discriminated against who in that case? Now, what they are saying is, they're saying, okay, since we have them 12.5% of the workforce, they should have also 12.5% of executive positions. Where they are connecting these two, I have no idea. Like, I really can't believe that they actually made this a thing. But okay, let's listen. Maybe they have something.
And let me just say something before we go. The assumption here is that equality is the actual fabric of nature. That's what we see. That's what's natural. And there's obviously a problem with that type of mentality, because we will find more deserts in certain other continents or certain other countries. You find arable lands or lands that are good for farming and cultivation and all that in particular places more than others. Other countries are particularly deserts, or Alaska, which has no actual real good farming area. That's inequalities. Even to say that when we talk of planets, the planets that have life, it's only at least just the Earth is the
one
only
that we know of. Is only the Earth. Where you are going with this conversation, we might it might not end.
It might but I'm trying to just show that nature
is that
inequality is part of nature.
Not just part of nature. Inequality is the norm. Inequality is what to be expected. If people were equally represented in every occupation, that would be puzzling, because it has never happened.
Videos about that.
Because the thing is, it has never happened in anything before.
Even kids in the same family are not equal.
Yeah. So even the same person on different days is not equal to himself. But okay, so they are saying that this is a problem, that we only have 5% of black executives, when we have 12.5%. I don't know where they're getting it from. Let's hear them out. Maybe they have an actual argument. What do you think?
I'll put all my money that they don't, but let's go.
Okay.
1980s. The numbers they're so depressing.
8,000 Starbucks stores across the country will close to train employees on racial bias.
If you are a racist barista at Starbucks, good news. You've got about a month left to while out.
Unconscious bias training may sound like the right policy for companies to adopt, but it has long proved to be ineffective.
What happens is that some people...
Okay, so they're
saying this whole time. They don't work.
You know what? What's crazy is these things have been said during the civil rights era and soon after the civil rights era, that trying to train people to not be racist doesn't work. This is not a new thing, but it seems as if it's a new discovery. Remember, Starbucks had to do this after a barista had called the cops on black men that were just chilling, and all that, and they made it a whole race thing, and now it cost them a lot of millions, a lot of money, just to do this program, and they realized it doesn't really work. Why doesn't it work? Because you cannot train racism out of a person. If somebody is just racist, they are going to be racist. The fact that you are training them not to be racist will make them even more racist, because they will resent your attitude.
The problem is there's no problem.
Yeah.
And it's a non-problem, and people are making it the particular civil rights issue of our particular, time, to say, if we've made it illegal for you to discriminate anyone, that's as far as we can go. There are some other people that think more can be done.
Yeah.
But there's a particular time where you have to give the person the actual autonomy to decide to like someone or to not. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing any government can do about it. I'm a Christian. Now, I know it's probably not what most people hear about, but if for most Christians, you have to understand that, at least even in the Christian way of looking at it, the most important thing you can ever talk of attaining is salvation, which is, for my non-Christian friends, going to heaven and gaining eternal life. As good as that is as an ideal, and even as an end in your Christian life, still God cannot even force that on you. I find it particularly very interesting to find Christians that claim to be Christian, but they also subscribe to forcing people to loving people, because even the Bible does not even tell you to do that.
And also, what kind of love is that you have
has
to
be
trained?
mandated and trained?
And you see, so some people who are here for other reasons might think that we're saying racism doesn't exist, or it's not a problem, or no. Obviously, there are people that are racist. But what can we do about it?
Just as there are people who are jealous, just as there are people who are envious, just as there are people who you can't make any laws to say we are trying to get rid of jealous people out of workplaces. That's how absurd some of this sounds.
Yeah, sins and flaws are common amongst people. But what the government can do is to say discrimination is illegal. Nobody should be discriminated against because of their race.
If you can prove it, sue that person till they are out of business.
Well, racism is already illegal. There are crimes. For example, if you beat somebody up, it can be assault. But if you beat them up because of their race, now it's a hate crime. It's a whole different category of crime. So the laws that are on the books already cater for some of these things, right? But there is a God complex in the left of thinking that they can somehow change human nature.
I can fix you.
Yeah. So
You
feel like,
yeah, you don't know any better.
Yeah, they think that the solution to most problems is people should just be wise up. People should realize that this is the only planet we have, so we have to take care of it. If we only can teach people about this particular gender, they will understand. If we
What
only
if people
can teach
don't
people,
care? What if
Yeah,
you tell me and I don't care? What
See,
happens
so
then?
that's why I said it's a God complex, because they think that human nature is so malleable that they know better and they can change other people by taking them through classes and courses and re-educating them.
See, that's what diversity is in actual means. That some people will say, I don't care. That's diversity there. That we don't look at the world the same way. And you should be okay with me saying, I don't care about the racism you're trying to teach me.
Yeah,
and I should be able to keep my job too. As long as I'm not breaking any laws of discrimination.
Yeah, the diversity that they want is token diversity of skin tones and culture. It's not a diversity of viewpoints and opinions, which is the diversity that matters. Because once you are making diversity only about race, you are now the racist. Because now you are viewing everything through that lens.
I think these people that go for this now, and I'm sorry to say this because I know someone could get offended, but I think this is the most cowardly way of looking at the world, to say we are trying to achieve an ideal, because anything that is worthwhile having should also be difficult to attain. To say if we are trying to say we're trying to live the higher ideal of saying we tolerate what is intolerable. Because when you say tolerance, you're not tolerating something that is pleasant. You're tolerating something you detest. That is what tolerance should be. Meaning to say, if I am talking about, oh, yeah, I'm tolerant of you because you're a black person who's saying the things I support, I have not done any actual work. There's nothing I've had to actually do. Unless if you're saying that my skin is so detestable to you that you are tolerating it, even though I do agree with you. And follow me as I'm trying to go, a place with this line of thought. The most difficult thing we could do is to be tolerable to someone who's telling us that what we're saying is nonsensical, but still be able to shake their hands and say we should still be able to sit at the same table and eat and not treat each other like enemies. And be civilized about it. That is the higher level. That's when you're actually working. When everything in you is literally saying, punch this guy, punch a Nazi. But then you don't punch a Nazi. That is what tolerance is. And that's what's harder. When they give each other these particular, pats on the back. Oh my God, you're so tolerant and you do such a difficult thing. You're so brave for people who agree with them. That's not what they should be. They should be giving each other pats on the back and saying, are you saying you're married to a Trump supporter? And
are you saying
liberal?
Are you saying you invited Ben Shapiro to your show?
Yeah, like, you know what? I'm a transgender, and I had Ben Shapiro come, or I like Ben Shapiro, or I can listen to him without getting annoyed. Or if I'm getting annoyed, I'm not in some way trying to cancel him or to stop other people from listening to him who agree with him. That is what we should be basically going and saying, yo, you know what? Respect, my G. Yeah. But no, we don't.
It was Thomas Sowell said that ultimately freedom means the ability for other people to do things that you disapprove of.
You hate. That is what civilization is.
Anyway, so these people realized that retraining people for, to fix their racism doesn't work. Let's see what they came up with now.
New plan.
Like, okay, we're fixed. And so they don't pay attention to the problem anymore. And other people are aggravated. And they think that they've been unfairly blamed for being racist or sexist.
For us to actually see progress being made, we have to step away from easy band-aid solutions and focus on root causes. The idea behind structural racism is that racism is built into the systems and
Here we go,
policies
the systems
of
talk.
a society.
The evidence shows that trying to change the attitudes of individuals within companies doesn't work.
Okay.
But changing systems
still together.
does.
Okay. So they moved from people, now they are going to the system.
See, this is the other classic thing that I see a lot. When you ask people for hard evidence of racism, they'll tell you, can't really pinpoint it, but it's in the system.
Structural, yeah, it's structural. It's hidden somewhere. It's hidden.
The boogeyman. Oh,
But the United States is had the history of the United States. You cannot talk about it without talking about slavery. Their civil war, the bloodiest that has ever happened, was because of slavery. White people went to war against other white people in a quest to end slavery. And now, any conversation about race that happens in America, it's at the backdrop of the atrocities of what happened during slavery. So to the point where even when they look at their laws, it's not like, okay, let's look at the laws that we have now. Do these laws cater for everyone and protect everyone, right? It's more like they are looking at laws from, okay, Jim Crow laws used to be like this. So now we haven't really moved past that, but some elements of those discriminatory laws still exist in our law and they have to be removed. And I agree that those laws have to be removed, right? But first of all, before we remove them, they have to be pinpointed. Which one exactly? Now, the ones that they commonly say, things to do with gerrymandering and redlining and voter ID and things like that, like they disproportionately affect Black people. But the evidence that I have seen for most of those things is very little, close to none, for all the things that are considered structural in the system and things like that. And also, if you are saying that it's much easier to change the system, I bet most people are against racism now than they were in the past. Why is it taking you this long to remove those elements that you are saying is in the system? Now, it shows me something that it might be that there is really nothing there, but they still need a crusade to go behind, something to fight for, and so that they can continue race hustling. And
because if you pinpointed something, then you can easily try to fix it, and then if it's fixed, what else is left to talk about?
Yeah.
And what is left to say, well, you need to still vote us in because we'll champion you. But in the particular case we're talking about of companies, it's interesting because I would really like to understand what systems within companies that are causing these issues, because the problem that was cited was the representation of Black people in higher management. What system is really stopping Black people from getting up there? That's the conversation that I would have wished would have actually ensued in this particular video, because it's easy for us to really get broad and vague about things. Let's stay very narrow and very, very consistent on the particular topic. Why are Black people not rising to the top of the
are not being executives of companies?
That's assuming that more Black people should be at the top, because actually we could be overrepresented at that particular rate.
Here's the question that really matters in this case, since you brought it down to this specific video, right? The question that really should matter, they should be saying, is that there are enough qualified Black executives who have the enough experience, who have the enough caliber, who have a track record as much as every other race, white, and so on and so on. But
they're just being denied.
They are still being denied an opportunity. Now we actually have a case that can go to court, and then you can prove that. And remember, the Constitution of the United States, the Civil Rights Act, actually says that nobody should be discriminated based on race. So you have a basis on which to launch your lawsuit.
It's systematic because you can't really see it. It's inside. It's buried inside the system. That's why these people are not rising to the top. But
That's
the other thing
that's
I was
why.
going to ask you, sorry,
Okay.
was most of these people are the same very people that are complaining that there's no reason why a CEO should be making so much amount of money, or is this important as that. They have no idea how important those people are, what pedigree is needed for you to rise to those things. And most of them seem to also actually resent and not really care for the actual things that make you successful at that
Yeah.
particular level of being in corporate America.
It's the same. It's the same thing that I was saying, that look at LeBron James, probably the greatest basketball player ever. How many people could actually be LeBron James? Because I bet that almost every man out there would want LeBron James's life, his money, his status, his fame, and so on. But it's not out of a lack of interest that we are not there. There are many other reasons. But the fact that the NBA discriminated against you maybe might be 0.0001% of the reason.
Most of the
Now,
reasons you don't end up like LeBron are
yeah,
mainly
they
on
are,
you.
yeah, most of the reasons why many people are not LeBron James have very little to do with other people stopping them. But when it comes to other occupations, like why are there not so many black CEOs of big companies, right? Why do they always rush to discrimination? How many black people or black people in that capacity are able to run those companies, have the necessary qualifications, the caliber, all the skills required? That should be the question. Now, when you get to why don't they have the skills, why don't they have the experience, the qualifications, now you are getting to the root of the issue, not these lying roots that they are trying to say.
Well, the problem is also still at the root of the actual issue. There's always going to be room for these people to insert discrimination in one particular way. But the truth is, when we look at why people succeed and people don't succeed, it's best for us to look at it from a personal development point of view, because it's probably the most truest and the most efficient way of guessing whether someone is going to be
And
successful or not.
any therapist will tell you that, any sociologist will tell you that.
To say, if I'm going to say I want to become a football player or a soccer player, but 12 hours of my day, which could be my productive time, I spent no time really paying attention or trying to become better. And another person is spending the 12 hours and they're working to be that. Inevitably, if I was to say, do you want to put $1 million as to who's going to be successful in these particular areas, it's a no-brainer, right? And I think the other issue which you are alluding to is in sports and in other competitive areas and endeavors, it's easier to see the inputs and to kind of find the outputs with them. In such places like business, being a manager, some of the metrics that get someone promoted are not so easy for the public to understand and for many people to understand and to access. So to say, when a guy consistently is extra polite with his managers, but he's doing the very same job that the other person is doing, and the guy is
that
extra,
can be the difference.
those are the differences.
He
that
stays 1 hour longer doing the work. He goes an extra mile doing the work. And those things are very cultural, number one. And they are things that someone can develop those capacities for. There is a study that was done in the 90s in schools in San Francisco, where they were trying to figure out why different races of kids are getting different scores in math. They realized that Asian kids, particularly Chinese who had migrated from Hong Kong, they were outperforming everyone. And the gap between them and the Black American kids was so huge that when they tried to investigate what could be the cause, they realized that when they asked them the question, how many hours do you spend doing your homework and doing extra work in math and things like that, they realized that the difference between the Asian kids and the Black kids was the same as their scores. Talking about inputs and outputs. Now,
exactly.
you cannot expect somebody just to be given an executive position because they are black. There are billions of dollars at stake here. There are billions of dollars at stake, but what I'm afraid of is that we are living in a society that is moving a little bit towards that. The only saving grace that we have is that shareholders, the people who actually own the company, they have a financial incentive that can make them push back against hiring an executive just based on the color of their skins. But even in very big companies and big banks, they have positions called diversity president and so on and so forth. And they have given people these positions. Now you are creating these positions and giving them incentives for them to constantly complain about these things. Because if I am the president to make sure that racial quotas are fit and bias is removed and so on, the day I come and say, you know what, I think this is not a problem anymore, I lose my job. And who wants to lose a job? Nobody. So they are actually incentivized to keep fueling this fire, and it's poisoning the entire society. Race hustlers.
Race grifters. Let's see if we can finish this. I think it was almost over.
Yeah, let's see.
Companies that put in formal mentoring programs that are open to everybody, they see huge increases in the diversity of the management population after 5 or 10 years. When we look at black men and women, their numbers in management increase after companies put in child care programs, flexibility programs, and parental leave programs.
Okay. Now it's a little bit better because now they are looking at trying to provide people with opportunities, right? To say, okay, you don't have the skills, but we are going to give you an opportunity to attain the skills. And those who avail themselves to getting the skills can be put in position. Now, I'm not sure whether or not they get through these mentorship programs and the diversity president and the company says he has gone through it, just give him the position, and they get it as a quota, a token, because that definitely does happen in most companies. They will not give you maybe a consequential position, but they'll give you a position so that these race grifters will be off their back.
Yeah, no, you're right. I want to comment as soon as we finish the video. Oh, that's actually over, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So yeah, what I was gonna say is what they just explained here is the classic issue of playing fast and loose with the facts. They're saying they do see improve. They did not tell us to what particular degree they see the increase and the improvements. And also to say, when you obviously put in your entire company some of these things to help people with childcare and all this and all that, to help people be able to get some sort of extra help to pay attention a lot more to their work, because now they don't have to take care of their child or whatever it is. They don't have to leave work early, whichever it is. I'm pretty sure that probably helps everyone within that particular workforce. So yes, it does improve black people's total numbers. I don't know if it improves the actual total percentage, because as you're helping them, unless if you're discriminating that particular help to just helping black people, but again, that information is not given to us. Then there's some other thing to also speak of. To say, are you saying that the black workers in the company, they're the only ones that need childcare help? You
see, this is where we always end up with this conversation, that they think that there's a special solution for black people. No. The things that makes people successful everywhere are common, regardless of your race, your gender, your culture.
No, wait. You're getting away from it. Away from it. It kind of insinuates that black people need help taking care of their kids, unless if you're doing that for everyone, which again, still they kind of left the whole issue gray. And this is the problem I have with these particular videos.
They definitely did, and there is a condescension tone to it. You see, when we provide childcare, so are you saying that the reason why black people are not executives is because they have to babysit?
They have to take care of their children.
Like, so everyone else doesn't have kids? Are you saying black people can't take care of their kids?
Black people, we took care of that for you. You're welcome.
Oh my goodness me. But that's the problem with these people is they don't really care about flesh and blood human beings. They care about the ideology. It's complete garbage and it ends up hurting in the entire society.
It's hurting my ears. So let's just start talking. Well, you know what, guys? Let us know what you think. Do you think the economists are actually being, genuine about trying to help black people? And do you think what they basically pointed out as the solution works? Or maybe you disagree with us. The comment section is there. Chime in.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah. The two distant blocks, we out.